The rain fell in relentless sheets, blurring the neon signs of the city into streaks of pink, blue, and orange. Streets that had been bustling just an hour ago now seemed deserted, save for the occasional taxi splashing through puddles, or the faint silhouettes of hurried pedestrians hunched under umbrellas. Ajay's shoes squelched against the wet pavement as he walked briskly, the day's fatigue weighing on his shoulders. The office had been grueling, the kind of day that made one feel invisible despite working tirelessly. He just wanted to get home, pour himself a cup of tea, and drown out the world for a few hours. That's when he saw her. At first, she was just a blur, something small and hunched under a street lamp trembling. But even from a distance, there was something unsettlingly stark about her presence. Ajay's pace slowed, and instinctively he adjusted his umbrella to get a better look. She was sitting on the wet pavement, legs pulled close to her chest, her arms wrapped tightly around them as if trying to contain the shivering inside her. Her clothes, a thin, glitter-stained dress that had likely once been vibrant and alluring, now hung limp and soaked. Rainwater ran down her shoulders and back, soaking her hair and plastering it to her face. AJ paused, a knot forming in his stomach. He had passed countless beggars, drunkards, and the lost souls of the city before, but there was something different here, something raw, something painfully human. This wasn't desperation born of laziness or choice, it was survival, and it stared him in the face. "Hey, are you okay?" he called softly, his voice barely rising above the patter of rain. The girl flinched violently, curling further into herself, as if his voice had startled her out of some fragile cocoon of numbness. Her eyes, wide and dark, flicked toward him, then quickly away, scanning the empty streets as if expecting someone, or something, to appear from the shadows. Ajay crouched down slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. He removed his umbrella, letting the rain soak him too, a small sacrifice to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said gently. "Here, take my coat. You're freezing." For a long moment she didn't move, her hands clutched her knees tighter, and her lips quivered. Then, after what felt like an eternity, she hesitated, glanced at the offered coat, and finally, almost reluctantly, took it. She draped it around herself like a fragile shield, the oversized sleeves swallowing her thin arms. Ajay noticed then the faint tremor that ran through her body, not just from the cold, but from some deeper, more invisible ache. He leaned back slightly, giving her space while trying to gauge her condition. Her hands, he realized, were not just small and delicate, they were scarred, calloused, a testimony to hard nights and even harder days. His mind raced, imagining the life that had led her here, the music, the stage lights, the adoration, and then the fall, the betrayal, the exploitation, the nights alone in a cold, cruel city. "Why are you out here?" he asked softly, careful to keep his tone steady, reassuring. Her voice was barely audible, hoarse and fragile, the kind of voice that had spoken too many harsh truths too young. I have nowhere to go," she whispered, her words carried away almost instantly by the rain. Ajay's heart ached. He had expected stories of neglect, of misfortune, but there was more here. This was a person who had been forced into invisibility, treated like she could simply be ignored. And yet, there was a spark in her eyes, a flicker of life and dignity that refused to be snuffed out entirely. Despite the dirt, the wet clothes, and the exhaustion, he could see the grace of a dancer in the way she held herself, even in despair. The city around them continued its indifferent rhythm, cars honking in the distance, neon lights flickering, the rain masking the world in a cold gray haze. And in the middle of it all, Ajay felt a pull, an unspoken connection that defied logic. Without fully thinking, without planning, he made a choice that surprised even him. "Come with me," he said gently. "You don't have to be out here alone. I can help you." Her eyes widened, and for a moment disbelief froze her movements. The coat she clutched slipped slightly from her shoulders, and she shivered, not entirely from the cold. Slowly, hesitantly, she nodded, almost as if accepting a truth she hadn't dared to hope for before. Ajay offered his hand. She looked at it, then at him, then finally took it, her grip tentative but real. And as they walked together through the rain-soaked streets toward the faint warmth of his apartment building, Ajay realized something profound. Tonight, he hadn't just found a shivering stranger on the road. He had stumbled upon a story, a life begging to be seen, a soul yearning for rescue, and in that quiet, rain-drenched moment, he felt something shift inside himself too, a realization that sometimes the people we save are the ones who quietly save us in return.